What if I told you that Arsenal are quietly building something that could change the entire landscape of English football, and most fans have absolutely no idea how deep this transformation goes? Welcome to Gunners Updates, and today we are pulling back the curtain on everything happening at the Emirates right now, from a potential blockbuster signing at Real Madrid to an advanced striker pursuit and a defender on his way out the door for good. This is not your typical transfer roundup. This is the full story of a club that is no longer content with competing, a club that under Mikel Arteta is now actively hunting dominance. And by the time you finish watching this video, you are going to understand exactly why this summer could be the most important in Arsenal's recent history. Let us start where the biggest conversation is happening right now, and that is around Arda Güler, the extraordinarily gifted young midfielder currently at Real Madrid, whose situation at the club is becoming more complicated by the week. For a long time, Güler was seen across world football as one of the most exciting young talents of his generation. When he made the move from Fenerbahce to Madrid, the plan was straightforward and ambitious. The club would nurture him, develop him carefully, and eventually he would become a genuine superstar at the highest level. Club president Florentino Perez himself threw his personal support behind Güler's development, which told you everything about the level of belief that existed inside the Bernabeu. Earlier this season, under Carlo Ancelotti's successor, Xabi Alonso, things were genuinely progressing in the right direction. Güler was earning minutes on the pitch, his creativity was being expressed, and he was slowly but surely becoming a trusted part of Madrid's attacking system. But then everything shifted in a way that nobody predicted. The departure of Alonso created a wave of uncertainty throughout the squad, and Güler found himself caught right in the middle of it. With new attacking options arriving at Madrid, including the return of Nico Paz and the emergence of Victor Munoz, the competition for places has become genuinely fierce, and Güler's path to regular football is no longer as clear as it once appeared. This is precisely where Arsenal have identified their opportunity. The Gunners are not passively watching from a distance, hoping something falls their way. They are actively positioning themselves, doing the groundwork, and making sure they are ready to move the moment Madrid even begins to consider making Güler available. But here is what makes this situation even more compelling and, frankly, even more complicated. Arsenal are not operating in isolation here. Liverpool have been tracking Güler seriously for an extended period and are already maintaining regular lines of communication with those close to the player. Chelsea are also in the picture, staying closely informed and ready to accelerate their pursuit at short notice. What this means in practical terms is that if Güler does become available this summer, Arsenal are going to find themselves in a full-scale three-way battle against two of the most resourceful clubs in the Premier League, and Arteta's side will need to decide just how aggressively they are willing to pursue this one. Because the profile of this player is almost tailor-made for what Arteta wants to build. Güler already has over 100 appearances for one of the biggest clubs in the world. He has contributed double-digit goals and assists across his time at Madrid. He can operate as an attacking midfielder or as a wide player, and he is still only 20 years old. Technical quality, footballing intelligence, and genuine versatility, that is the exact combination that Arteta values above almost everything else. While that pursuit is still very much in its early stages, Arsenal are simultaneously making decisive moves in the striker market, and this next development is progressing at a pace that suggests it could be resolved before the summer even properly begins. Nicolo Tresoldi has been placed at the very top of Arsenal's striker shortlist, and the Gunners are currently considered the favourites to secure his signature. This has moved well beyond the rumour stage. Talks are actively progressing between the relevant parties, and everything about the situation suggests Arsenal are serious about getting this done. Tresoldi is 21 years old and has been absolutely outstanding for Club Brugge since arriving from Hannover 96, contributing 13 goals across 30 league appearances in his debut season with the Belgian club. That kind of return from a player so young speaks to a striker who is not just promising but already genuinely effective at a high level. He is fast, he reads the game intelligently, and he finishes with a clinical composure that you simply cannot teach. He fits perfectly into the kind of progressive, technically demanding system that Arteta has built at Arsenal, and he represents exactly the kind of high-ceiling, high-upside acquisition that the club has been pursuing as part of their broader recruitment philosophy. Last summer, Arsenal invested approximately £165 million in their attacking department, bringing in Victor Gyökeres, Eberechi Eze, and Noni Madueke in a statement of serious intent. Now they are continuing that rebuild, but with a sharper focus on younger talent with enormous room to grow. Tresoldi sits perfectly within that strategy. There is also a fascinating international dimension to his situation that adds another layer of intrigue to the story. He is currently part of Germany's under-21 setup and is firmly on Julian Nagelsmann's radar as a potential senior international in the near future. At the same time, Argentina have been working to convince him to switch his international allegiance entirely. This is a player whose career trajectory is about to go in a dramatically upward direction regardless of where he ends up, and Arsenal appear determined to make sure that upward journey happens in North London. Now let us turn to the outgoings, because one piece of business appears to be essentially settled already. Jakub Kiwior is set to leave Arsenal on a permanent basis, with FC Porto expected to trigger a purchase clause of around €17 million before the end of May. Kiwior spent his loan spell at Porto performing consistently and making over 30 appearances for the Portuguese club, establishing himself as a dependable figure in their defensive setup. But Arsenal have assessed the situation and made their decision. He does not fit into the long-term picture at the Emirates, and a clean permanent exit at this point makes complete sense from a squad management perspective. There is also an interesting financial footnote here. Porto's investment could actually generate a profit for the Portuguese club later down the line. With Kiwior's estimated market value already sitting above the fee being paid to secure the transfer. For Arsenal, however, the primary benefit is straightforward. It frees up a squad spot and generates funds that can be redirected into the ambitious recruitment plans already in motion. Looking at the broader picture of how Arsenal are constructing their future, it becomes clear that Arteta and the club's hierarchy are thinking in years rather than months. Young defender Daniel McCarran is already confirmed as an incoming addition, and the club is widely expected to turn Piero Hincapie's loan spell into a permanent arrangement following what has been an impressive stint with the squad. Arteta has made no secret of how highly he rates the Ecuadorian defender, describing him publicly as dominant, intelligent, and ideally suited to the demands of his system. Beyond these two names, multiple young talents are already lined up to arrive at the Emirates in the coming seasons, reinforcing the message that Arsenal's recruitment strategy is not simply about acquiring marquee names for immediate impact. It is about building something that lasts, something sustainable, something that can compete consistently at the very highest level for years and years to come. Now, while all of that transfer business continues to develop in the background, there is an equally significant story unfolding on the domestic front, and it centers on what is shaping up to be one of the most challenging team selections Arteta has faced all season. Arsenal head into their FA Cup quarter-final clash against Southampton carrying what can only be described as a deeply concerning injury list, one that has the potential to seriously disrupt any plans the manager might have had for how to approach the game. The international break has not been kind to the Gunners in the slightest. Multiple key players returned to the training ground at London Colney, carrying knocks of varying degrees of severity, and Arteta now faces the extraordinarily delicate task of balancing the desire to win a cup game against the absolute necessity of protecting players ahead of what is coming next in the schedule. Eberechi Eze picked up a calf problem during Arsenal's Champions League clash with Bayer Leverkusen and was forced to withdraw from international duty, with all available evidence pointing toward him missing the Southampton game entirely. Gabriel Magalhaes pulled himself out of the Brazil squad after experiencing discomfort in his knee, and given how pivotal he is to Arsenal's defensive organization, nobody at the club is going to take any risks with him at this critical stage of a season that still has so much riding on it. William Saliba's situation is similarly uncertain after he withdrew from international duty carrying an ankle issue. Reports indicate he requires a minimum of 10 days rest before he can be considered for selection, which puts his availability for the quarterfinal very much in doubt. In attack, Leandro Trossard withdrew from the Belgium squad with a hip injury, while Noni Madueke suffered a knee problem during England's friendly match and was photographed wearing a brace shortly afterward, which is rarely an encouraging sign at any stage of a campaign. Even the players who have been Arsenal's most dependable performers across the season have not escaped the injury concerns. Both Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka departed the England camp early for medical assessments back at Arsenal, and while the nature of those issues may not be severe, Arteta still faces an agonizing decision about whether to include them against Southampton or preserve them for the bigger tests that lie ahead. Thomas Partey's situation adds yet another layer of midfield anxiety, having withdrawn from international duty with knee discomfort in what may prove to be precautionary, but nonetheless contributes to an ever-growing list of concerns. Piero Hincapié also picked up a knock during the international period and withdrew from his national squad, while Jurrien Timber continues his recovery from an earlier injury that had already kept him away from the Netherlands setup.